Hi, third graders. This is Mrs. Oyster, and today I'm going to read to you chapter 10 from your reader. It's called A History of People in North America, and I want you to be listening for a couple things. You really only have one question to answer for this, but it does have some parts to it. You're going to listen for who are the two groups of people that came to North America before European explorers. Okay, who are those two groups? And then when did they come? And tell me a fact about once they got here. I want you to tell me a fact of where they settled, what they did, anything about each group. So for each group, you're going to tell me their name, when they settled, when, and at least one fact about them. Okay? So listen for those as I read to you. All right. Chapter 10, A History of People in North America. Lots of people think that Columbus was the first to arrive in America, but that's not right. There are at least two other groups of people who settled in North America, and both of them got there many years before Christopher Columbus. One group was the Vikings. Remember, we learned about them. The Vikings lived in Northern Europe and Scandinavia. They sailed around a lot, raiding and robbing as they went. The image on the next page shows you some of the places they explored and some of the Vikings who were explorers. In 982, some Vikings left Iceland and settled in Greenland, which is part of North America. They arrived there about 500 years before Columbus sailed. The Viking settlements on Greenland grew for a while. Archaeologists estimate there were probably 3,000 to 5,000 Viking settlers there at one point. Eventually, however, the Vikings left. Viking settlements in Greenland seem to have been abandoned in the 1400s, not long before the voyage of Columbus. And on the picture on the right, you can see some of them that we learned about Ingolf, Eric the Red, and Leif Erikson, and it shows some of the places they explored, like Greenland and Newfoundland. The Vikings also explored lands west of Greenland. Around the year 1000, the famous Viking explorer Leif Erikson visited a land he and other Vikings called Vinland. Most experts believe Vinland was somewhere along the coast of Newfoundland, in modern-day Canada. There is evidence that some Vikings settled in Newfoundland. In 1960, the ruins of a Viking village were found there. This village may have been part of Vinland. The Vikings definitely got to America before Columbus, so maybe we should say the Vikings were the first Europeans to settle in North America. But before we decide, we need to look at another group that settled in North America. Another group to settle in North America was the Native Americans. Although we call these people Native Americans, they did not always live in the Americas. They came to America from Asia. When and how this happened are subjects of much debate. Some historians think the first settlers made their way to North America a little more than 15,000 years ago. Others think the first people came to America many years earlier, perhaps even 40,000 years ago. Some experts think these people came by land at a time when Alaska and Asia were connected by land. Others think they may have traveled along the coast in boats. So if you look at the map here, it shows you the routes that some historians believe they came through. But the caption says, when the first settlers came to North America is a subject of much debate. And what that means is there's evidence for lots of different ideas about when they came. And so people are still debating it and trying to figure out what the actual answer is. The map on the next page shows how we think human beings spread around the earth. Experts think the first humans lived in Africa. About 100,000 years ago, some humans moved out of Africa and into the Middle East. About 70,000 years ago, a group of humans moved into Southeast Asia. About 15,000 years ago, or possibly earlier, some of these people crossed from Asia to the Americas. It is believed that many people also came to North America by various ship routes. New archaeological discoveries continue to be made every day about early settlers in North America. These discoveries change our understanding of who lived in North America in the past. This is kind of an interesting map. I'll let you look at it a little more closely. It shows how people today think that human beings spread around the earth, and the numbers on the map show how many years ago they thought people were there. So if you look at this green part, these are the parts that scientists and historians believe that people were first on Earth, where they were. So in Africa and Asia, okay? And it shows they thought they were here about 100,000 years ago, 70,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago. And the 1, 2, 3, I believe, is showing how they spread. Um, I'm not really sure, actually. That's kind of an interesting key. So, yeah, just take a look at that. It's kind of interesting. All right, I believe that's the last page. Shall we see? Yep, it is. So, I want you to think, what were the two groups that came before the European explorers? I hope you thought Vikings, is one, and Native Americans. Very good. And then if you look back, you should be able to find the years that they think they came or about how many years ago it was. And then at least one interesting fact about each group. This is in your ELA packet. I don't know the exact page number off the top of my head, but it is in there so you can look back. You can find